Hello and welcome to Grammar Blitz, your go to spot for grammar quizzes and learning English. In today's video, we will discuss the uses of must, have to, should, and ought to. We will focus on the differences between these modals. You must wear a helmet. Here, the correct answer is must. But why must? Where do we use must? We use must for strong obligation, necessity, or logical deduction. The tone of using must is formal, firm, and sometimes urgent. Must is often used when the speaker is giving the rule or order. For example, you must wear a seat belt. It's the law. He must be tired after that long trip. Here we use must because it's a logical deduction. In this sentence, the correct option is have to. Where we use have to and what's the difference between have to and must? We use have to when the obligation is external or when it is a necessity. The tone of using have to is neutral. We often use have to when the obligation comes from an outside source, for example, rules, laws, or someone else. For example, I have to finish this report by 5 p.m. Now, here the obligation is external. My boss told me. Students have to bring their ID cards to the exam. Here again, it's an obligation, which is external obligation, and it's a necessity. So have to is used for external obligations like deadlines. In this sentence, the correct option is should. Where we use should? We use should for advice, mild recommendation, or expectation. The tone of using should is polite and less forceful. It suggests the right thing to do, but it's not an obligation. This is the difference between must and have to and should. Should is not an obligation, but it's a mild recommendation. For example, you should drink more water. That's like an advice. They should be here by now. Here, should is used because it shows expectation. So, should is used for advice or recommendation. Here, the correct option is ought to. Ought to is similar to should, but there is a little difference. Ought to is used for moral duty, advice, or strong recommendation. Now, this is the difference between ought to and should. Should for mild recommendation, ought to for strong recommendation. The tone of ought to is slightly more formal or old fashioned than should. Sometimes ought to sounds more formal or ethical in tone. For example, You ought to apologize to her. It's like your moral duty. You ought to leave early to avoid traffic. So, ought to and should both express advice. Ought to is slightly more formal.